And I've been told years ago by a doctor that it's iron overload. I remember my specialist who treated me for the liver, they were like, the hematology department of the hospital is thinking of doing like a case study on me because a black woman having iron overload is kind of unheard of.
Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Conversation Capital. My name is Ursula Mariani, and I'm the host of the Conversation Capital, and I'm hanging out with Ubonga Bweta. Ubonga Bweta. I don't know how else to say your name. How are you?
I'm good, sis. How are you?
I am awesome. Thank you.
I like how you spoke about how you say my name. Someone said they like how you say my name.
Yeah.
So the pressure is a lot.
The pressure's a lot. Now
Yes.
I overthink how I say your name. It's so silly.
I was seeing that
I'm like,
comment.
oh my gosh, how am I going to say her name now? Yes. So one of the things we want to chat about, and I think we've really somehow become like a bit of a health show. We talk about health and stuff, but people's experiences rather than like a very medical perspective to a lot of the health discussions we've had. And one of the ones that we want to get into today is lupus. And maybe we can just start off briefly. What's lupus, Bonga?
Okay. So this is from the Resource Center on Lupus. It says lupus is a chronic long-term disease that can cause inflammation and pain in any part of your body. It's an autoimmune disease, which means that your immune system, the body system that usually fights infections, attacks healthy tissue instead. And then it says, what is inflammation? Inflammation usually happens when your immune system is fighting an infection and an injury. When lupus makes your immune system attack healthy tissue, it can cause inflammation in lots of different body parts. Symptoms can include swelling and pain. Yeah.
So that's what lupus is. And so we've got somebody who is living with lupus. Atlehang Maseko, hello.
Hi, Ashla.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing very well, thanks.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know you had put up a status on WhatsApp.
Yes.
Talking about your story, and you were like, and luckily I have you on WhatsApp, darling. And so I've known you for a while. And then I was like, no, please actually come on to the show and share your story here. You know, this is the platform for that. I think lupus is something it's an interesting disorder.
Yes.
Not many people know about it. It's difficult to diagnose. And so when somebody has a diagnosis and they're living with it and they're coping with it and they look like you, I made a joke off air. I was like, you don't look like you have lupus, girl, you know. And you know, so it's just always interesting to get that story and that perspective. So maybe let's just start off. Who's Atlehang? And maybe then we can just segue into when did you first start getting symptoms? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, who I am, born and bred in Pretoria all my life. I'm a Pretoria Han. Just a normal young lady who's been through quite a bit. But honestly, I rely on the grace of God because it's really, really the only answer I can give you guys as to why I look the way I do, but living with an illness such as lupus, right? Giddy lady, man. I'm just a strong-willed, very honest, authentic person. I believe in authentic people. I believe in authentic living. And that's really kind of me in a nutshell.
Okay. And then, you know, what was the onset? Like, what happened?
So I was much younger, actually. I think around grade R even. So, and obviously I had to now speak to my mom to help me remember all of these things because it started when I was a child, actually, child. So I was actually very athletic. So the school that I was attending at the time identified me as one of the fastest kids in the school. So my mom then decided to enroll me with Athletics SA. So I did that as an extra, you know, curricular after school and all of that. So that was an intense training and but it didn't last for long. According to my mom, okay, I didn't enjoy it or I got tired quickly, you know, or so she thought. So she kind of took me out of, you know, Athletics SA. Then after that, I started experiencing random falls. So from falling from a sitting position, trying to stand. Literally, I'm sitting now. If I were to try and stand up, boom, fatty, you know, every time.
Sure. How old are you around this?
At this time, I'm around 8.
Okay.
8 going on 9. Okay, that's fine. I know the random falls started to persist. I also had what doctors at the time said were allergies because I had like rash and snacks around my eyes, behind my knees. So my mom then decides to take me to the GP because it's not normal at this point, the random and constant falling. The GP then on the spot calls a pediatrician who's then a specialist, explains kind of what's happening with this patient in front of her. The pediatrician then says, bring her over at once. So my mom takes me to this pediatrician. He decides to admit me right there and then.
Sure.
So he then performed a muscle biopsy, which is a small procedure where they take a bit of your muscle, the tissue, to test it. So they did that while I was in hospital. Now I'm 9 years old. I'm then told it's something, or we are told that it's dermatomyositis. Now that's also an inflammatory disease that affects, or it's marked by muscle weakness, skin rashes. And apparently it's supposed to last approximately 2 years. The 2 years following that, Ursula, were hectic. I was in and out of hospital, a lot of missing school, obviously, because my symptoms at the time, a lot of it was joint pain, muscle weakness. And the muscle weakness, I couldn't run. And when I mean I couldn't run, just physically I couldn't get my legs to move adequately, and it wasn't pain or anything at the time. It was just they were just so weak, So for that 2 years, as I said, I'm in and out of hospital. I'm experiencing all these, I'm living it's living in pain, physical pain, muscle pain, joint pain is a huge indicator, and skin as well, just like skin rashes. At the age of 13, now my pediatrician who was treating me decides to refer me to a rheumatologist. So rheumatologists then deal with, all kinds of, these kind of illnesses. Yes. So this doctor then does her muscle biopsy again. So she performs it herself. And this time the diagnosis is lupus.
How old are you at this point?
13.
I'm 13. I'm now 13.
I'm glad to hear that.
I'm
At least
13.
They caught it early.
Yes. Oh, thank God for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was caught early, definitely. Yeah. Yes. I'm 13 at this time. Okay, so now it's lupus. I'm put on all of this medication. So daily you are taking tablets on tablets on tablets. And I've been taking chronic medication since 9 when I was diagnosed with that first thing. But now to go back to that dermatomyositis diagnosis, it was actually incorrect because actually the two illnesses are very much similar. Very much similar, So we later found out that actually it's been lupus all this time, So it was just missed in that way. I mean, even the pediatrician, when he was treating me for the dermatomyositis one, he actually called my mom one random day and said, the way your daughter's reacting to this medication is very strange. Do you mind if we perform an HIV test on her? I'm 9 years old, 9, 10, 11 at that time. It obviously came back negative. It now makes sense later on because I was being treated for something that I was not, that I actually didn't have, But that's fine. Lupus, I'm on the lupus medication that has its own side effects as well. It's a whole lot. As I said, living with lupus is characterized by, you can't really live a normal life like any other kid or any other person, right? Because it's constant flare-ups as well.
Yes.
And the flare-ups are bad. I mean,
I remember when I first met you, I mean, we roam in similar social circles. You had come to a braai with your own scafftin. Because you eat your own food.
Yes.
That's when I was like, what was that again? That's when I first heard of. Yeah, just to give you an example of the first time I really got you guys like
Ursula will say the weirdest thing and then expect us to keep our faces straight.
Yeah, but I remember that's when I was just like, what does she have? And I was very curious.
Yes. So that's what I mean by you had to live a different life. And it's not easy, especially when you're a child. All you want to be or do is do child things, right? But we try to manage it. The main thing with lupus, you want to manage it as best as you can.
And my understanding is that it can attack different organs at a time.
Yes.
Different flare-ups, like one minute it's the lungs, the next,
So a flare-up is basically when the illness is most active. Yeah, now it's fighting you. Yeah, it's fighting you. So again, flare-ups are mostly, now you're lethargic the whole time. Fatigue over. You struggle to do anything. The muscle weakness, the muscle pain.
Sure.
the joints, so the knuckles, the wrists, you're in pain, so you can't really function, you can't really function optimally having lupus, and especially during the flare-ups. How they manage or treat the flare-ups, they just double your dosage of the medication, the steroids that you're on. They increase all of that. Yeah? And just as a sidebar there with the medication, the problem also, as much as we appreciate it and we need medication, the problem is that you take it and it treats whatever they gave it to you for. But then it causes damage somewhere else. Because the body is intertwined. It's all a system, So that's also a major thing, because then I developed, for example, high blood pressure from certain medication that I was taking, things like that. But it's medication that you kind of have to be on
for years
to treat the lupus, to manage the lupus. Exactly that. So as you were saying, it affects different organs in different people. In my case, it's the kidneys. So I'm on medication for my kidneys as well. When I go to my specialist rheumatologist for my checkups, she's checking my kidney function. We're constantly having to monitor
everything else.
Yes, everything else, especially the kidneys, how those are doing, and things like that. Yes.
Kidney, heart, and it's all like you said.
Yes. And interestingly enough, now that you mentioned heart, I know Toni Braxton has lupus. She's said it publicly, and in her case, it affects the heart. So it can be any organ in the body, really.
And how, when you speak of the flare-ups, they sound very intense. How has been navigating just work, career, etc.? Because you have this dedicated sick leave, etc., but we know things like that are not easy, especially if you live with a chronic condition.
So at this point of the story, I'm still a child, ne? So at around this time, I was diagnosed with lupus at 13. So we're entering high school now. So my high school career is characterized by mostly the worst years were grade 7 to about grade 10. Yes, those years were bad. So leaving primary school, entering high school, because it's the in and out of hospital.
Yes.
It's the being booked off sick. My mom had to leave me with my grandparents for my grand to take care of me, because I was sick for long periods of time and she had to go to work.
Couldn't miss work.
Things like that. There's a time in grade 7, actually, I missed the whole term, the last term of grade 7. I passed because the rest of my results, the rest of the year, were good enough to carry me through, and actually pass.
Smarty pants. Anyway, yeah.
So you're saying right now in your life, it's well controlled, that it's not as bad or...
So let me continue the story then.
Okay.
So as I said, I was just trying to also highlight how a person with lupus lives and how it affects them physically. So you're limited, definitely. I was told that I can't do sports at school, no physical education, and again, with the diet stuff at the time, we were trying, I think that was us. Doctors rely on drugs and they prescribe that. So that was sort of us as a family, our homework, or that was our involvement in, let's see how we can manage this also with,
just diet.
Yes, just diet, doing things holistic way and all of that. So I had to avoid, and inflammation as well, lots of food, sugar, the biggest trigger of inflammation, so things like that I had to try and avoid, right? But I was a child also. I was a child,
it's
so
that part.
Sure.
Yeah. And because I was a child,
we struggle now as adults not to have a piece of cake.
It's
but
hard.
Child,
it's not easy. It's not easy. And because I was a child, I don't think it went very well, the sticking to what I'm supposed to eat and at the time. Then I get to my life from 9 up until the age of 16, like I said, was in and out of hospital, dealing with that. Ne? Grade 11, so I'm 17 at this time. That was the first year that I did not have to be admitted at all into hospital. And that was a big deal because, as I say, that was my life. That was my life. And for the first time, I didn't. And I started getting better from about age 17, actually. Yes, and better, I mean, now we can say the lupus is kind of under control. It's being managed, with the medication. The flare-ups are not as frequent. We're at a point where now I'm not getting as sick.
Do you ever know what triggers those flare-ups, like personally? A flu, stress, or it just happens?
So that's the thing also. You know, when you're a child, you can't really tell.
Yes.
That's much easier to answer now that I'm an adult.
Yes.
I'm more cognizant of matter, okay.
When
You know,
this
what
and this
could have,
happens,
yes,
yes.
you know, I'm more able to identify what could bring a flare up on. But then again, also, flare ups just, they have, it's called, it's part and parcel of an autoimmune illness, you know, of lupus, you know, unfortunately. And it happens when you don't expect, you don't know it. When it's going to happen, you can't expect it, you know. So anyway, we can fast. So I was good. Thank God, grade 11 and grade 12. I mean, matric, you need to pass, you know. So luckily I was doing very well then. And actually since then, I've been doing amazingly well, super well.
Wow, that's amazing.
But then in 2016, I had this unexplainable pain somewhere like on my left side that I just couldn't explain. And doctors were also kind of struggling to, you know, to explain what it could be. Until this one specialist was called and he was like, you know what, let's just test for this. I don't think it's that, but just to rule it out, let's just. So they do that test. Comes back, they found I had bad blood clots in my lung. So it's called a pulmonary embolism. You know, so again, life with lupus is every now and then you're being hit with all of these setbacks. You're being hit with all of these medical terms, all of these doctors' reports. They're negative and scary, you know. Wow, random, out of nowhere. And that time I was doing super well in terms of the lupus. Now I've got a blood clot. Then I'm told I need to be on blood thinners, obviously. And I'm going to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life. So this guy says. And this guy, I remember, is not a doctor, is not a nurse. Who just felt like telling me, and you know you're going to be on this for the rest of your life, right? And I'm like...
In a man.
Some guy go... And at that time, I was attending... King Hospital at a public because I was transitioning from my mom's medical aid to my dad's medical aid. So they have this 12-month waiting period. So for that 12 months, I cannot be seeing a doctor or getting my chronic medication. So I had to go there. So I don't know what role he was or the one handing out the pharmacy. There's a lot of people who are helping you in that system, you know. And I guess that's another thing, right? Like how grateful I am to have been able to be on medical aid. I remember my doctor had to do a certain test and I just thought, I don't know what I said to her. And I said to her, I was shocked by the price of this blood test. She was like, my dear, nothing about lupus is cheap. Like everything. Being sick is cheap. Né? Trying to be healthy is expensive. Sorry, not cheap, expensive. Trying to be healthy is expensive, but being ill as well is very expensive. It's so expensive.
This is so true.
It really is.
So true.
I mean, the blood tests that you do, the medication that I'm on, there's no way you can pay that cash every month. It's a lot, you know. So, yeah, we're grateful for those kind of privileges as well. Somebody medical aid and. So, till today, so that was 2016, I'm still on the blood thinning medication. Again, because they did say, apparently I've got a blood clotting illness.
You know, part and parcel with the lupus, or
I
suspect
it's difficult.
The medications.
I was gonna say that. What I was saying, you know, that's what I was saying about the medication. It causes other things as well. You know, so I can't say for sure that it's medication. I can't say for sure that it's the lupus, but one of them. Sure. You know, yeah. And sorry.
Yeah, no, 2016. Now you're blood clotting.
Yeah.
You move on. You're now on blood thinner medication.
Yeah. So now I'm living with these clots in my left lung, right? My left lung for some time. Again, thank God. I probably had this for about a year and a half or so. Went back to do the tests where they see to monitor the clots if they are, you know, dissolving. And thank God they did. They went away completely. So at least now I'm clot free, you know. But it was quite scary at the time because with clots, you know, I mean, if they travel anyway,
2 seconds.
No warning, no nothing, you know. So that was quite tough as well. But I thank God that we found it when we did as well, you know, because other people aren't so lucky. Umakalafela utla motu just fell, you know, for no other reason. It's a clot that went to the brain or something like that, you know. So yes, for 2016, so about 2018, then I think that's when it was discovered that the clots are gone. Again, after that, I then lived a pretty normal life. I was really healthy. So there's a term where they say now you're in remission. And that's when the lupus is quiet, you know. So now that's the goal. That's where you want to be, you know, because then you're not experiencing the aches and pains, the flare-ups as well. Those are like kind of dormant for the time. And you want to be in remission for as long as you can, you know. And it was tough. Now to go back to your answer, now that I'm older, also I've got so much experience with it. I mean, I've been living with this since I was 9. The whole doctor's visits, the medical terms, medication. I mean, I'm at a point now where I'm able to work around my medication. I now know how to sort of dose myself. I know what to take more of, what to take less of according to how I'm feeling, because our body does speak to us as well, you know. So because of the experience and the knowledge I have now, I'm able to work it. I'm feeling a little bit achy today, let me double the cortisone, you know, things like that. And how you get through it as well. The support of family plays such a huge role as well, at least in my case, you know. I mean, my mom and sister lived through it with me, you know. They are there when my muscles are so weak, I can't move for myself. So my mom needs to help me
backtrack. You do still have flare-ups like that?
Not anymore. It's actually been a few years now. Okay. No, it's been a few years that I haven't had, that I've been in remission. Yes. Yeah, so my adulthood has actually been quite good.
That's
yes.
amazing.
It's been quite good, yes. And that's not the typical story for a lupus patient. It's really not.
Sure.
Yes.
It's really not. I mean, your average lupus patient is not doing well. He is not doing well, as I said earlier.
Has
you just
it
can't
affected
function.
your dating life?
No, actually, it really hasn't. No, I can't say, because again, I started dating in my older years as well, and the older I got is the better it got. Yes, you know, so yes.
But how about now? They don't ask the questions.
Look, you have to. You have to be upfront. You know what I mean? Because this is a huge part of your life, and you will go to hospital maybe, or it's the constant doctor's visits, or it's the medication you're taking every day.
Yeah.
Every day going at the
You know, ask so, and then, or no?
Oh no, I've always been upfront with it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't even wait for someone to ask. It's something that I'm living with.
Very private.
That's never been me.
I'm
Definitely
glad,
not.
Because I feel like sometimes privacy gets us trapped.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? Instead of just saying, this is me, this is my story, this is how, like, remember Nosy, we had Nosy.
Yeah.
You know, and I admired it so much because there's a liberation you give yourself.
Yeah.
When you just own your story. And you say it is what it is. And I knew a lady that I worked with. I actually nearly said her name. Maybe she's not open. But she had just had a child against the doctor's advice. The doctor said, no, you're not a candidate to have a child. But she was married and she really wanted to. And she said she allowed herself to visit the grave and bounce back because of lupus. And she had 3, which says, I nearly died. My baby nearly died. We both nearly died. And she was like, I had my one and I'm done. I know that I was visiting the grave because of that pregnancy.
Yeah.
And so what's been the advice to you?
In terms of,
do the doctor say, you know, you can try have a kid? Would you want to try, or you know, you're not willing to risk it, or you know?
Look, the doctors do advise when you're in remission. Sure, definitely, yes. Obviously, now if you're at a point where the lupus is now it's active or flare up, definitely not. Yes. Definitely not. First of all, your life is at risk as the mom before we even think about the baby. You know, so they definitely advise against that. They need you to first be healthy and for the lupus to be completely under control and for a certain period, you know, before they can be confident enough to say, okay, you're good.
Try for a child.
Right. Yes. So, for example, as I said, I'm in remission and I've been in remission for a few years now, you know, so yes. So I'm good. But generally, it's that. And it's so limiting as well, having lupus in many ways. And mentally, it can really, really take such a huge toll on any person, you know. Yeah.
Do you experience pill fatigue?
Yes, I do. So much so, and it's bad, and I don't advise. But there's certain medication that I just decided I'm not taking anymore, you know. And I went off it for a few months, had my doctor's visit this year in February, actually, and I'm still doing great. You know, and then only after that, after the results, I told her, "Kara, by the way, I stopped." Yeah. Again, it's the experience. You know, you just kind of know, you know.
And what did she say?
It's your choice, my dear.
At the end of the day, you're an adult. What will
Yes, you know. But I think she was comfortable enough because she actually did remove it as well off of my my prescription.
Okay.
You know, so she was fine with it.
Why specifically that pill? Does it make you feel lethargic?
I don't want to be on so many tablets, and especially tablets that I keep only handle what the use is. You know. Yeah, I can't explain it fully. I feel like it's also a bit of an intuitive thing. In my case, it was for sure. And I think just, the experience with it, my age, my knowledge in the lupus, my knowledge in the medication, I was just like, you know, let me get off it a little bit and see. And I was fine, still good without it. It's been many months now. So I'm definitely on medication. There's medication that you can't not be on.
Yeah.
And I know what that medication is. So I make sure with that I'm very consistent.
Okay.
And then there's just extras where I'm like, Mara.
Do you find yourself being able to exercise and
Yes.
eat whatever you want, not necessarily, or you
I
still stick to
do.
a
I
strict diet?
actually eat. I'm not even proud to say I eat. Not great. Chocolate cake is my guilty pleasure. Okay. Yeah. So I'm not on any special diet. I can exercise. Do I exercise is another topic.
Yeah.
But I definitely can. You know. Yes. And again, I'm doing well now. I'm living a completely normal life, like completely. I'm not limited in any way. And I mean, by the way, lupus, they say, is a progressive illness. In other words, it gets progressively worse over time.
Yes.
But in my case, I'm seeing the opposite. I honestly thank God, I'm literally seeing the opposite in my case, and I can't explain it. Doctors can't explain it. You know, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm being responsible. I'm taking my medication for sure. You know, I'm taking care of myself in other areas as well. But I'm not doing anything specific or anything major. And honestly, I can only thank God for that. You know what I mean?
My knowledge is limited in the sense that is it genetic? I don't know when you read there. Did they say something
It
about
said
it
sometimes it could be, but then it can also develop due to environmental factors.
Yeah, all of that. It's
I'm
also
trying to figure
very
out if
tricky.
anybody else in your family has it.
Nobody else in my family has it. Very tricky to try and find the cause. Yeah,
and the
even back
traces,
then when I was a child, when I was first diagnosed, Libona, they couldn't say definitively this is what caused it. You know, it was just one of those. And at the time as well, they said it's a rare illness. I'm not sure if it's still rare. I think it's getting a bit more known these days. Kanako Ela, they did say it's a rare chronic illness that has no cure. You know, that was the diagnosis and the doctor's report at the time. You know, and I've been living with it ever since. You know, and the toll again on family, you know, living with a loved one, especially a child who's so sickly. You know, as I was saying, my mom and my sister lived through it with me, you know, like helping me physically because I was too weak to do it or too in pain to do anything myself. You know, you can imagine having to drop your child off in hospital, you know, so frequently all the time. You know, I mean, my uncle basically became a doctor / scientist because of all the research he just took upon himself to do. You know, everyone was trying to figure out how can we best manage this illness, you know. So he was super involved like that. As I said earlier, I had to stay with my grandparents at certain times, you know, so it's a lot. But I'm grateful for my family, definitely. I mean, my dad has always been one of my biggest encouragers and supporters. You know, he makes me feel good. So that helps a lot.
Have you ever had to disclose this in the work? So those of you that don't know, are you single?
No, definitely not. Definitely not single.
Advertiser, no, go bear on plastic and she's single and
I'm not.
Okay. So, you know, just that being said, in the workplace, do you have to disclose just in case, or are you so comfortable that you're like, no, I don't need to disclose this?
So I see recruitment agencies always ask that question. Do you have any medical conditions that we should be aware of? And then they'll go on to say, don't worry, it won't have any impact on anything. I've never disclosed it because
you're on TCC. But yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. You know, I've never disclosed it in that way. You know, because number one, like I said, my adulthood, I've been really good.
Yes,
I've been really good. Of course, I'll like take sick leave, but for minor things, nothing hectic, like no long hospital stays like before, etc. So number one, I don't think it's necessary. But number two, I have seen that discrimination in that regard, where employers are hesitant to hire someone
Absolutely.
who's got an illness,
about it
for sure.
Yeah, you were here. We were talking about it off air, just being obese.
Oh, yes.
Why
yes.
do I say lazy? They are biases.
Things like that.
They are
Yes.
biases.
Yes. So, yeah, but it's never held me back at work or anything like that. Thank God, yeah.
Because autoimmune disease, autoimmune,
Yes.
the immune system is attacking itself.
Yes.
Do you ever feel betrayed by your body? Like, why attack?
No,
Yeah.
not at all. I've never felt that way.
Because I've heard of people feeling like betrayal.
I've heard
from
that
their
as
body
well,
with
definitely.
cancer and
I
things
can
like that,
see
yeah.
how it can happen.
I can see it as well. But for me personally, I don't feel that way. I don't feel like my body is betraying me. Me having lupus is not... I can't fault my body or my immune system for not functioning the way that it should be, and I don't know, I just find it to be a negative way of thinking.
Yes,
It's counterproductive.
Yes.
It'll make me feel worse. I love my body works for me. No, I don't feel like that at all. Never have.
Oh, man. I
Truly.
love it. That's a strong
Truly.
mind.
That is so awesome.
Is
That's
it?
a strong mind.
Yeah.
I feel betrayed by my body during my period. Like small things, I'm like, actually, you are useless.
I lived a very sedentary life for a long time, and now I'm being active again, and I feel like that. Like, must you be so lazy?
Yes, like you feel so annoyed with your body.
Must you
So
always
when
be so
people,
tired?
when people feel betrayed by their body, I totally get it because I'm always annoyed with my body for not behaving accordingly.
No, not at all. Not at all. So let me also bring this in. Then last year, so remember I said I've been doing very well for many years. Nah? Then last year, again, so I see my specialist twice a year, every 6 months. She renews my prescription. That's how you live, So I went to see her last year sometime, and she then found that my HB levels, my hemoglobin levels were really low. So she was like, you know what, we're going to need to give you an iron infusion and a blood transfusion as well. So I was like, okay. I was very hesitant, especially with the iron one, because I've been told before that I've got an iron overload. So I remember even at home, we're going back and forth. Should we do this? Should we not? But anyway, we're like, what? I'm in the doctor's hands at the end of the day. Let me do what she says. And so we did it. I had those transfusions. Fine. Not too long after that, I started noticing, I think first it was my complexion. My complexion started getting, like it just went dark overnight. Unnaturally so though, like not sunburned dark or just like an unnatural color, Then I'm starting to feel more and more tired. Okay. And again, because now I've got this experience, I'm able to identify when I'm feeling certain things that are a bit out of the ordinary and able to link or when did this start, So then my eyes started getting very jaundiced. So they were yellow. No, so I always know her yellow eyes equals something is up with the liver, So I went to then see the GP. GP immediately was like, you know what, I think you should go to the hospital, ER, and do tests there, further tests there. He did from the dipstick, the urine test, he did pick up that something, is up with the liver. So I then went to the hospital, spent the whole day there. Finally, when I saw Dr. go ER that evening, this time my mom was here, I'd called her to just come. Doctor tells us that you've got severe liver damage. Out of nowhere. Okay, like out of nowhere. And we need to admit you to high care as in
that's
right
a spanner
now.
in the works. I'm thinking we're heading towards the end of the show. You just, put more time on the timer. Yes, yeah.
Exactly. Out of nowhere. When I was upset. I was very upset with that because I was just like,
what the hell?
I've been doing well.
I've been doing so good, and a liver damage, and it's so badly damaged. You want to take me to high care. Oh gosh! Of course, immediately that night, then I'm admitted, and that same night, now my mom's fetching my bags and everything, bringing it to me. I was living at home at the time, all of that. So I'm in hospital for 2 weeks now, almost close to 2 weeks. Being treated for the liver damage, and the doctor said it was so severe. Now, obviously, the question begs: what damaged my liver so badly? And I know people immediately when you hear liver damage, you think alcohol, and it wasn't that at all in my case. Again, that took a long time in itself, trying to figure out what could have caused it. Because medication, they said, definitely can play a role in that. The immune system on itself could play a role in that, you know, the autoimmunity. All of these things, you know. Eventually, we did all of the tests. I did more biopsies. I did a biopsy of the liver. Listen, I've done many biopsies because they've taken pieces of everything in my body, like, you know. But I did the liver biopsy, and that's where they picked up that one of the reasons was iron overload. So I was then able to trace back a few months back when I had the transfusion that I was, you know, in doubt about, in two minds about, actually caused for my iron to be too much. So the iron, it was found in
I've never heard of that.
Of
like an iron overload. I've never heard. I didn't know that.
That doesn't even happen in Black people. First of all, it doesn't. It's mostly in white people, and so much so that doctors have been like, no, it's not that. And I've been told years ago by a doctor that it's iron overload, you know. But anyway, I remember my specialist who treated me for the liver. They were like, they are thinking, the hematology department of the hospital is thinking of doing like a case study on me, because a Black woman having iron overload is kind of unheard of, you know. Anyway, but at least we're able to kind of track back to why that happened, you know. So it affected my liver that badly. But also, he did mention autoimmune, you know, related reasons to the liver damage, etc. You know, but so we found the cause. I was treated. 2 weeks later, I was discharged. But the recovery after that was very slow, because the numbers were like shockingly high, you know, because your liver readings, your liver function, etc., must be at a certain number. It must be actually like the normal liver is 35, the ALT for that. And at the time when I went to hospital, it was in the 2000s. So you can imagine how severely and badly damaged the liver was, you know. But Dr. I remember he was so worried. Like, he didn't know me, met me for the first time, but he was like, your liver, we need to do something about it ASAP. You know, so the months after that, so this was September of last year, when I went to go see then the specialist. It was around February as well. Finally, then the numbers were close. There were 75. So 75 to 35. I mean, that's quite a remarkable, you know, improvement from where I was of just a few months prior. You know, so thank God the liver is doing well again. It's complete. You can say it's pretty healed and it's good. You know, so. Yeah, life with lupus, it's being thrown with all these curveballs.
Do you have anxiety? Because there's a friend of mine who struggles with endometriosis, and she says the anxiety of not knowing, like when you plan on the 12th of June, we're going to a wedding, not knowing whether I'm going to have a flare up on that day. It gives me so much anxiety to plan for events and for. Do you live with that?
No, I don't. I don't. No, I don't have anxiety that's illness related. But now that you mention it, I remember there's a pastor that I used to speak with just about personal things and stuff. And she was like, so I'm a little bit controlling, so they say. You know, so she's like, I wonder if it doesn't have anything to do with your health journey, because that's the area where you are the most out of control. There's absolutely nothing you can do. You can't, you know, prevent a flare-up, prevent this or that. So maybe because you feel so helpless in that regard, maybe you want to control where you can, you know. And I was like, that's actually something to think about, you know. But as for anxiety related to or due to the illness, not quite.
Have you found yourself needing to, because you're mentioning going to a pastor for, I'm assuming, some kind of counseling.
Yeah.
Have you needed to go to therapy over it, or?
No, I haven't. I haven't. I really haven't.
So you're saying if you go to therapy, it'll be for something else?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely other things. Not. Yeah, I've never spoken about this like as a topic, like something I need help with. Yes. Oh my gosh, like woe is me or anything like that. No, not at all. Not at all.
And I think, like you're saying, just because you've been such an anomaly with regards to being in remission for so many years and really just having a better journey than a lot of people.
Yes, definitely.
That's the truth.
And I think what's helping me as well, like why I can answer that, no, I don't have anxiety, no, I don't feel my body, you know, has betrayed me. You know, you need a different kind of strength to really go through this whole journey. You really, really do. And so for me, that's really been my faith in God, because I know exactly who God is just through what I've been through and what I've come out of, you know. So I've had to have faith in God, and I've had to be strong, you know. And I am a strong person generally, but that journey will force you, kind of have to be, otherwise you won't make it. You know, it's very much a mental thing as well, where you have to keep fighting. That's advice people always tell me, like, if someone finds out I'm in hospital, Atlee, please stay fighting. Like, just continue the race, don't give up, you know, because if you do that, then you're just going downhill, you know. So I've always just tried to be as strong as I can, but again, I don't think I could have done it by myself without
the support structure that you have.
The support structure that I have, for sure. My family has been everything in this. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful.
When you
for
mentioned
them.
Bomalume are amazing, man.
I love my uncle. Oh my gosh. I've always said,
uncle,
is it?
most amazing man.
Uncles are amazing. I've always said he's my third dad, because I've got my biological dad, I've got my bonus dad, who's so amazing, and then I've got my uncle. So whom I love so much. He's so involved in our lives, my sister and I. You know, so he's been, as I said, he's been a great help. He took it upon himself to, hey, we are fighting this thing. All the research, all the reading, you know, has been him. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, big ups to them.
Big ups to them.
Yeah.
Atlee, thank you.
Thank you, Ursula.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to share your story, and I know somebody's listening and they feel heard.
Yes.
I hope so. I hope so.
Because it is one of those things. There are some rare disorders. Somebody, when we did Duchenne muscular dystrophy, somebody came forward, which is another somebody came forward and said, oh, my child has that.
Sure.
But theirs wasn't Duchenne, it was just some muscular dystrophy. And just saying, wow, I feel seen. You know, so sometimes, you know, somebody just needs to hear the story and say, somebody else has been through
absolutely
something similar, and they're here and they're standing and they're in remission.
Yes.
And they've been in remission for many years.
Yes, so it's possible.
It's possible.
Yes, it's definitely possible. And they will be okay. They will be okay. It's not easy. I know it. It's not easy, but they will be okay. And again, you have to keep fighting. You have to have your fighting strength, your fighting spirit at all times.
Sure.
And know that you will be fine. You will come out of it. That I can say for certain, because I'm a living testament of that, you know, definitely.
A strong mind and
yes.
a strong spirit.
Yes.
And wants to live.
Want to live. Listen, I've got plans, okay? I've got plans for days, and I'm going to realize all of them. You know, I'm not going to let any illness stop me or get in my way. It doesn't define who you are, you know, not at all. Not at all. It's just something you have to live with, manage, but it's not who you are as a person, you know.
I love that striking of the balance of like owning something, being vulnerable enough to share it, but also not living the label and being the label, and that's all you are.
Absolutely
There's
not.
a balance to be reached there.
Yes.
We're like, oh yes, kina leona.
Yes.
And not hey kina.
Yes.
Kina.
No. Oh, I've never owned it like that. I've never. No. That's no. It's going downhill as well.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Ursula.
sharing your story with us. And we wish you all the best. We wish that, you know, we'll be following you, obviously.
Yeah.
I have you on WhatsApp. I'll definitely be following you. But, you know, just, I hope that that's the continuation of your story, that you stay in remission. And like you're saying, God has been faithful this far.
So faithful.
So, yeah. Let it be like that. Yo.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was today's episode of the Conversation Capital. Please show Atlee some love in the comment section and share your story with us as well. Let us know something else you'd like us to chat about. And share, I think most importantly, share your story. You know, let people feel involved in the TCC community that we have and say, hey, I've also been in remission, or hey, I'm having a flare up and this has encouraged me. These are the comments that we love to get. Thank you so much for following us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For now, though, goodbye and God bless.